Hello friends and welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to walk you through how I sold every fight in this month's Paragon Gauntlet, completely itemless, starting off with this Shocker here, which we'll be using Knull for. Now Shocker, a little bit annoying, more so than usual. He's going to auto-block your light and medium attacks. Knull obviously can get around this because his mediums and his special one have built-in true accuracy, so you can just stick to medium, toss your special one, and with a little patience you'll be able to get through it. Now you want to use your special attacks ideally before he uses one, otherwise they're going to cost like next to nothing for him and he'll just spam them for you. Also, avoid hitting his block or you're going to get a concussion debuff on you. Now it is safe to do this every so often just for like a little bit of extra willpower healing, but you obviously want to avoid too much of that ability accuracy reduction, so you don't want to do it too often. Also, try and stay as close to him as you can because you don't want him to hit you in your block with his dash attack. If he does that too many times in between knockdowns, he's going to passively stun you and then you're probably dead. Any auto block option is going to be great here. I did a run with Scream during exploration of EQ and she worked fantastic. Vox also really good with that permanent undermine. Adam Warlock also a really strong option. Once you get that unblockable up and keep it up with the taunt, he gets this fight down in no time. Alright, next up we have this NAMOR with Diss Track that we'll be using Sentinel for. Now with Sentinel you want to stay patient until you can land a big special 2 once he's reached max analysis, which should happen pretty quickly because since the buff he gets to max analysis very quickly against mutant champs. Now try to time Namor's unblockable buff that he gets periodically when he doesn't have a bar of power because his special one will root you in place. His specials both root you in place actually. And you obviously want to avoid that special 1 while rooted and unblockable. By the same token, push him to a special 2, and you can safely take a few, bubble shield hits just to do that because you can fully dex the special 2. Now Ironheart also a fantastic option here. Her tracking will turn off bubble shield. She has more than enough debuffs for Diss Track, and she can block unblockable specials with tracking active as well. Kushala also great here if you parry and keep that blessing active, but you can see here Sentinel putting in so much work. That special 2 absolutely melted him down. We followed it up with an armor break special 1 and Striker into the combo, and Namor goes down. Alright, next up is this Shuri. She also has an auto block node on her, a chance to auto block basic attacks, and that's going to go on cooldown every time you knock her down. So similar to the Shocker fight, using Knull here, stick to your mediums and your special 1 to counter the auto block chance, and then just bait out heavies and counter, and then bait the special 1 and counter that. So the only real danger with Knull in this fight is the untouchable, which she can get if she attempts to heavy with 10 of those matrix charges. So just be expecting it and be ready to wait out the untouchable. Now there is a critical shock timer on you, so you kind of do have to stay aggressive here, and if she triggers the untouchable, there is a decent chance that you're going to get that shock on you, so you have to be willing to take a little bit of damage here. Now Scream also works really well here, similar to the Shocker fight. Adam Warlock for the same reasons. Kate Bishop also a decent option as well. Use your heavy after a repost for a tracking debuff to counter that untouchable and just melt her down with the cold snap. Whichever champ you choose, you shouldn't have too much of an issue with this one. Alright, next up we have a Killmonger who is pretty difficult to plan for this objective. There's some good options for this fight under like normal circumstances, like you can use CGR, you can use Dr. Doom with the Mr. Fantastic synergy, but unfortunately very difficult to plan those champs for this path, at least for me anyway. So this fight really comes down to you need to choose between countering the unstoppable buff that he gets every few seconds or countering his reverb with an armor break champ. If you choose to counter the unstoppable and you don't have access to armor break, obviously you have to deal with that reverb damage, but you also have to be aware that he's going to have like essentially twice as much health because you need an armor break to deal like 100% damage. In addition, you can't parry repeatedly in this fight or you'll get faltered, so you really do need to block bait a lot of heavies in order to get your opening. It's very easy to get cornered in this fight as well because so frequently he'll have that unstoppable and you'll be able to do nothing but just block and back up here. Now with Knull, it's a pretty long fight. You need to stay patient and play around that unstoppable buff. When you have an armor break or a corruption effect active on him, you need to be aggressive because that is when you're going to be able to do the most damage here. And you can see here, I'm trying to be as aggressive as possible, waiting out that unstoppable, and then going right back in. As long as those armor breaks are active, that's where I'm going to be doing all of my damage. Now, you can use any other strong armor break champ, like I mentioned CGR. Medusa absolutely crushes this fight. Deathless King Groot is also fantastic. Deathless King Groot can also heal the reverb damage that you get before you get the armor break on him. And again, his armor breaks are permanent, so really, really good there. I also did a run with Danny Moonstar during EQ, just spamming Special 1 to counter his Unstoppable. It worked pretty well. You know, she gets easy openings via those illusion passives, but again, you kind of have to just watch for the reverb damage because she really has no way of countering that. So, I mentioned this is a little bit of a longer fight with Knull. There aren't really a lot of like really good options that fit for me with this team, but Knull, you know, he got the job done regardless. Alright, next up we have one of the two new champs. This is Gentle. Now, Gentle's biggest threat is the Unstoppable passive that he gets every 15 hits in your combo, so you just got to be prepared for it. Now, Sentinel works really, really well here. One Special 2 is pretty much going to be enough to KO him. You can weave in some heavies for that extra shock damage as well, but, you know, first order of business, obviously, is to get your analysis up to 100, which, again, takes 2 heavies, a couple of Intimidate debuffs, and there we go. I would recommend baiting his Special 1 as opposed to his Special 2 because the latter gives him like a big physical resistance passive, and Sentinel's basic attacks are all physical. But any decent tech champ is going to work here. It's a bonus if they have energy damage, like Ironheart or Jack are both going to be really good options here. Prowler also worked pretty well. I'd used him on one of my exploration runs. You just got to stay on top of the Unstoppable as well. So we're working up to the Special 2 here. We've triggered the Unstoppable there. I wasn't counting properly. Luckily, he didn't punish me once he triggered it. He also has Footloose, so you have to back off on his special attacks. But you're going to see this Special 2 is going to apply 10 Incinerates and absolutely rip through the rest of his health. We follow it up with a Shock, and down he goes. Really, really simple fight for buff Sentinel. Last fight here is OKOYE. She is super easy to cheese as long as you have a good option on your team. She gets a lot of buffs. You can't remove them, but Neutralize and Soul Barb will still work. So with Kushala here, you want to build as quickly as you can your Special 2. That will apply the Soul Barb and will do a whole bunch of damage. Now you either need to kill her quickly or bring somebody who has Bleed, Shock immunity, or Resistance. Now with Wiccan, you can melt her easily with that Neutralize. With Sinister, you actually want to take a rooted Special 2 to the face and then send the debuffs back to her with the Special 1. Or you can just use Onslaught, who more or less counters everything in the fight. It's a little slower, though, than these cheese options. That's going to do it for this walkthrough. Hope it was helpful for you. Please share it with your friends and your alliance. As always, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.